have 35 minutes before we need to leave. Why don't we have a sort of 15-20 minute conversation, Q&A, and maybe give 5 or so minutes over to what we think might look like an interesting action plan to get back to Helen Hayes and others with. So I don't know if there's anybody out there with questions for Helen in particular, or thoughts or comments in general. Yes.
Well, I share your ideas, and in your question of why do certain charities not, why they're not aware of like the chemicals in makeup, for instance. And I had a meeting with the director of a cancer charity who provide makeup makeovers to cancer patients. And I thought that was a wonderful incentive. Only they use carcinogenic makeup brands. And I asked the very question, how can we make it that these cancer patients actually get access to products that are non-toxic? And she was like, well, if the non-toxic brands can give us products, then we'll use those. But we have many sponsors of the conventional brands, and that's why we use them. So I think that's really shocking at a time of like when cancer patients need to have access to the right information, they are still being pushed products that will make them ill.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, maybe.
The question of Helen was, is why do cancer charities not acknowledge that there are dangers in like conventional personal care products, for instance? And my answer was it's to do with money. So conventional brands sponsor cancer charities to get their products put in front of the patients. So there's no actual regard for whether this is good for their health or not. It's purely money.
So I was going to say, just to add on to that as well, for many years we've tried to get Cancer Research UK to acknowledge that pesticides cause cancer, and that by eliminating the use of pesticides that were carcinogenic, we could perhaps prevent cancer. And they had on their website, there's no known link between pesticides and cancer. And of course it turns out that the chairman of their board of trustees was the founding CEO of Syngenta, one of the big 6 pesticide manufacturers. You can draw your own conclusions from that if you like, but it's the same. There's no money in prevention. There is no money in prevention. If you haven't got something to cure, you're not going to, if it's not there, you don't have to fund it. Follow the money. And the money's in curing, not prevention.
Yes. I wanted to say I'm a patient at Macmillan, and I don't know your name?
Nat,
Is it?
Nat.
There was a session. They have a Macmillan Support Center on the ground floor, and they have these different, they have therapeutic things for groups of people. And they had a sort of beauty day. They didn't call it that, but it was a session. So it was close to an appointment, so I went along, and I was given this big bag of cosmetics. I've given away a few, but it's just what you say, and I can actually take a photo of the contents of this bag. So, being a traditional woman, I couldn't help but welcome a bag full of, chemicals, cosmetics. But it did occur to me because I'm thinking about this. But then they started to tell us how to put on lipstick and stuff, and I just sneaked out, but with my precious bag of stuff. But that would seem to be a very small campaign that could be organized. I'm close to the Macmillan fundraising people, and because I want to give something back for my treatment. And this would be one thing to raise awareness, very small thing, but because it's part of UCH, it's a big deal. Might be worth talking about at some point.
Some of the, all the breast cancer charities and other cancer charities do really good work supporting treatment and care and patients and information. So
you know. And I think it might be worth, like, say, approaching Macmillan and just suggesting it to them.
As Nat said, these cosmetics are donated by
Yeah.
by their cosmetic companies, you know, so they can look good on their, you know, what's it called, sustainability report.
I mean, the questions to why they don't recognise it, I don't know. I wouldn't like to speculate because it would be speculation, but it's, we have been to see some breast cancer charities, and we hope to see some cancer charities as well, and ask them, and I still don't know the answer. But what I do know is when I looked at Cancer Research UK site yesterday, they have a page on endocrine disrupting chemicals now. But if you read it, the way they present the information, they just qualify it all the time. So they say, like, there is some public concern about chemicals in food, environment and household goods. But the evidence linking the chemicals to cancers has generally been poor or inconsistent. And I had this, I might talk, but it was just too long. But so I was just wondering, how is the WHO and all the work that you used on it, on the state of evidence of endocrine disruptors, how is that inconsistent?
Yeah.
You know, there's a mountain of evidence, like, showing the links, you know, and still they manage not to actually put that on the site. And they say there's no strong evidence. They qualify the evidence. It's meaningless. What does that mean, strong evidence, as opposed to weak evidence, or?
Well, I guess the difference with the WHO and the charities is WHO is an independent government funded. Charities are still dependent on private firms to sponsor them, right? So they don't want to alienate their sponsors, which is why they're not being specific.
Well, we know there's a lot of stuff around pinkwashing around breast cancer. Some of the breast cancer charities have moved away from using cosmetics to raise money, particularly because I think of the pinkwashing campaigns in the US predominantly, and we did a campaign here as well a number of years ago about pinkwashing. So I think.
Does anyone know what that means?
It's selling products and putting a pink ribbon on it to say you're raising money for breast cancer, but actually only a very, very small percentage of the funding, of the money paid goes to breast cancer, and then you don't know where the money actually ends up and how it's spent. It could be as little as 1 pence, and you're buying the product thinking you're supporting breast cancer. And what the campaign talks about is follow the money. You should actually ask questions about how the money is spent. Is it spent on prevention, if that's what you care about, or better treatment, or better information? But the only way that things are going to change is if women actually who are accessing the services actually demand better.
But there is also the added point with pinkwashing, which is that very many of these products contain the very things that are part of the problem. And it's that hypocrisy that year on year, as city upon city around the world covers itself in pink every month, from London to Shanghai to Moscow. I mean, this is global now. It's a global brand. It's increasingly tough to watch as the partial story gets out every October. I mean, it is only a partial story. Yes?
Isn't it for us then to pick holes in those theories and challenge them, write that letter, put it on our Facebook page and say, have you seen this? Have you seen this? This isn't true. You know, and just get the word out. We put it on ours, you share it, the reach is massive. But I think it's something that we would have to plan for. So maybe our International Women's Day in March, to do a day of debunking.
Great idea. Great.
Like most women don't know that the brands that have been labelled actually have carcinogens in them. It's about not buying those brands, it's about buying brands that are safe.
So that's what I'm saying. On that day, we do something in all of our arenas that says, have you seen this? This is to draw your eye. This is what it's telling you. The real truth is, this is what it's doing to you. So that we raise it. And I think if we did something like that and
is exactly what we've been doing in the Hazards campaign, going back to the Hazards Centre, and we've been following the great work that Helen and Debbie been doing from pink to prevention, and on International Women's Day we did produce a fact sheet saying, don't pink for me, following the stuff that we use. We put that out on all our social media, and we're putting that out through trade unions. I think we have to do it in a more concerted fashion, and I think I mean, it is always about challenging, it is always about speaking truth to power. Within the trade union movement, we still have this, really, really good trade unions will still send me, in October, the pink wear a pink ribbon and all this sort of stuff, and you do have to challenge. It gets, like Helen says, we're getting very tired of doing this. We have to keep challenging this. And the problem is that even in trade unions, we often go along with this in our workplaces because it's easier and because often it means the employer gives you some small thing, you go along with this sort of thing rather than actually challenging it all the time. We have the information there, we have to do it in a more concerted way. We can do that, and I think it's great to have that absolute commitment that all trade unions will do this. But I have to say, we are, even within our own movement, we're up against people who still think that that's a good idea, who still haven't bought into the whole prevention sort of argument. So I think we do it, and we can do it, and I think that's great choice here. We can really up the ante on that.
Yes.
So I'm just currently having an argument with my husband.
Have an argument.
He just said, I think you've debunked this, he just said, most EU law will be transferred to UK law when we leave, and I'm sure the environment will continue to be protected. So I mentioned regional consent. He said, there's a number of European organisations we currently subscribe to that we may or may not leave. I don't think we know exactly what will happen. I suppose that's true in a way, which is why we need to keep campaigning to keep those. But do we actually know that things like REACH will not survive in our
The trouble is we don't know anything.
Yes.
Nobody knows. They don't know anything.
Yeah.
We don't know anything. I've had many discussions, and to an extent, nothing will change on March 2019 because there's no capacity to do it. It's what happens after that. And yes, we will have these things put in place, but we are in so yeah, possibly nothing will change, possibly something will change, but nobody knows. Possibly something will change, possibly nothing will change. Nobody knows, but we are in danger of losing some really, really key elements, and the two that were mentioned, the precautionary principle and the polluter pays. If we do not get those enshrined in whatever we have following Europe, regardless of whether we pay lip service or follow the EU law, then we'll have lost a massive amount, and there's a real danger that could happen.
Well, there is, and people who are pushing Brexit, those are the things they
well,
want to get rid of,
yeah.
because they want to take the burdens off business, because Brexit is just an opportunity for them to enrich their own class and to enrich corporations. That's what the power's being taken back for, is to give it to corporations, and that's what their business friends tell them. Although the message is conflicting, because a lot of chemical companies do want to keep risk, but there are other companies who actually don't. I think we are a big cleft stick here, because people keep saying, well, we don't know what's going to happen. That's true, we don't know what's going to happen, but I think you must always, like we said, follow the money, but you must always follow the ideology as well. The ideology of the people pushing back, we know what that is. We're not going to believe in unicorns. Come on. We're all grown-up women and men here. We don't believe in this. These are people, they're coming for our lives, and we have to be really serious about this. I went to the HSE, their first national conference a couple of weeks ago, and we were sitting there talking about Brexit, and quite a lot of people there were very concerned about it. The guy from the HSE was entirely complacent. He says, yes, we'll just set up a parallel reach, and it'll all be going. And actually, most of us there sat open-mouthed. We didn't actually challenge him because it was just the most ridiculous, stupid and pathetic thing to say. But I think we cannot trust the fact that, I understand why your husband and why lots of people are saying, don't be ridiculous. What you're saying, nobody is going to jump all this stuff and leave us with nothing. Of course they're going to protect us, because that's the sensible, obvious thing. If you looked at what I did, if you dealt with health and safety like Tracy and I haven't had for years, they've destroyed and scrapped so much. You cannot trust the fact that they're going to do the right thing and they're going to do the sensible thing. They don't give a shit about us.
If you want to get a sense of that, read any of the recent articles by Matt Ridley, who writes for The Times. If you want to see how out there, deregulation, insane, I mean, just batshit mad, they're just... read one of his columns to see what the future might hold. Matt Ridley, he's the brother, he's a writer, columnist and brother-in-law of disgraced former DEFRA Minister Owen Paterson, who's equally as out there. But it's deregulate, deregulate, deregulate. And if anybody wants to...
Daleks, like demented Daleks.
And I'll actually be debating Matt Ridley in 2 weeks' time in here, which is going to be fun.
Just a simple question really about since we're here in the Houses of Parliament, what do we want our MPs to do? And it's very complicated issues here. We need to simplify it in some sort of way so that we get across to not only ordinary people but to our MPs. How are we going to get that message across? And what do we want them to do? I think maybe we should come out of here today with some way of getting in touch with our MPs and organisations or as individuals and with a simple but coherent message, an abstract, if you like, of complicated papers. I've been listening to that. I have got a scientific background from many years ago, but it's so complex, all these issues. And no wonder most people don't get involved because they don't understand them. So we need to simplify them and simplify them for MPs and get them to do something at this crucial time. So we need to look at the political agenda at the moment as regards Brexit and trying to persuade MPs to vote the way that we would like them to vote on the legislation and give them help, if they like, and advice. If they don't understand it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Helen Hayes said about this amendment, Mary Craig
Yes.
and he put forward, and it seems like we don't know after Brexit if we stay under the EEA area and stuff, you know, or what's going to happen. But basically, the baseline thing is we want to stay under EU chemicals legislation for the good of our health and environment and our workplaces, and I suppose that's the take-home message. REACH is one of the tranches of the EU legislation. There's endocrine disrupting legislation as well, which will affect cosmetics and the harmful ingredients in them that are linked to breast cancer. So if we stay under the EU chemicals legislation, we'll get that. We'll have to adhere to that legislation as well. So for me, that's the take-home message.
And Mary Craig.
We can put something together.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mary Craig is chair of this environmental audit committee, which a select committee, a parliamentary select committee, which came as close as they could say to saying we need to stay in REACH. They said we need to stay as close as possible.
Yes.
So there is on that committee, that environmental audit committee, the desire, that's right, isn't it, that we stay as close to REACH as we possibly can, and that's sitting alongside this Theresa Coffey comment, which is that REACH is in contravention of our sovereignty and our supremacy, and therefore we don't need it. So there's something around the EAC. I mean, maybe this is some sort of a support. I mean, there has been letters written in support of that, haven't there, by NGOs?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we hope to do more. ChemTrust, which is another NGO, has somebody working on Brexit and chemicals specifically. So I suppose we'll follow their.
I mean, the message that we need to get to MPs is no deregulation, no weakening of current standards. That's the very simple message. Whether we stay in REACH or leave REACH, stay in pesticides or regulation or outside of it, the simple message is no weakening, and decisions should be made following a strict interpretation of the precautionary principle. I mean, that's the message that should be getting out.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to abuse and ask a question about the precautionary principle. Where is the UK on that? Where are we even there on that? And I was going to, by extension, extend that to the breast cancer charities and where they might be sitting on that.
Are we there? We have to be, because it's part of, it's within the Lisbon Treaty. it's within the various regulatory systems that we have, and to an extent the pesticides regulatory system is slightly precautionary principle led. So it's actually ingrained in EU law. So we have to. Where we are personally,
Yes.
they
As a
hate
UK,
it.
yeah.
They hate it. Their response is, no, we don't need that, as long as we base our decisions on good science, by which they also often mean
Yeah.
industry science. So we're not supporters of it, and as I mentioned, we are at real risk of just throwing that out in anything we get back.
Yes.
By the way, Keir Starmer's my MP, because I live in Kent, and he'll only read, in theory, stuff that comes from people in his constituency. But do you have any social media things going? I'm thinking of outfits like 350 degrees, and what's that other one? You know,
38 degrees.
And the other one,
Avaz. Change.
yes,
There's lots of-
Avast and the others, because, you know, we're always getting, you know, petitions, save the bees, you know, save every animal. I even heard something the other day about saving snails, but these were endangered snails somewhere else. But I think it would be a good thing to persuade one of these organizations. You know, you would draft the, you know, save the women or whatever, and get it out on social media, because obviously that's potential.
You need a Facebook page.
Can I say,
Yeah.
I mean, I think, well, I'm on Facebook, Faceache, and Twitter all the bloody time. There's so much out there. There's so much. If I get 15, 38 degrees or other petitions a day, it's a slow day. And personally, I think we might have reached peak petition. I'm not sure those are the ways to go anymore. I think we have to talk more directly to people and more directly to our MPs. And we have to make this very, very simple message. I think it would be a good idea for us to pull together some very simple message to the whole coalition, which we've done loads and loads of times. We're always doing this.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you go on Facebook now, on my timeline, you can find loads of stuff on Brexit and loads of petitions. But we're always doing it. When you sign it, you think, God, I'm sure I've signed exactly the same thing 20 times over the last 2 years. And unless you get millions of people doing it, I think it's actually meaningless. And I think we have actually got ourselves into a bit of a mess about this. I think what we need to do is to campaign much more directly with our MPs, with our lawmakers, and with people in work, at home, in our environment. It's all of us, we have to be we really do have to be rising up together. It has to be about, I'm sorry, we're not fucking having it anymore. You know, we have to get to that stage where we are really saying this, and signing my name to another bloody petition. I've actually stopped doing it, more or less, because I don't really think it's useful, unless there are thousands and thousands of them, and I don't think even these, you know, we said 20,000 of these, so she'll send us a letter every time she gets one, but we're using this as a means of trying to reclaim regulation, but I don't really think that's the way to go.
I agree with you about petitions, but I do think that things like social media, like Facebook, are very important. I really feel, I mean, although I've realised that if I move, which I might be doing, Teresa Company may well be my MP, so I'm a bit worried about that. Yes, we should be lobbying MPs, and I agree with that, but I still think there's an awful lot of ignorance. I mean, I didn't know half of this stuff, and I just happened to get something through my NUT. I didn't know half of it. We've got to be on the ground.
Yes.
Much more on the ground, through the trade unions, through workplace organisations, much more information on the ground, really.
Yeah.
I think microbeads with that is social media exposure and keeping that about. So I think that's really important.
Yes, and then Nick. Yes.
If I were a trade union and represent women at work, our demographics is about 70% women, of 1.3 million, and we find some of our best campaigns reach out to them, not about what happens to them at work, but what happens to them at home and with their children and in the community. So there is a work aspect, but it's also, for instance, if we're talking about endocrine disrupting chemicals, and we will talk about them in the workplace, they're maybe in schools, and the exposure that they have to their children, because it's not just themselves that they're looking at, it's also future generations that are coming up.
Nick.
Right. To come back to you, Hilda, what I would really like, what I see, I mean, yes, we all need to rise up together, but what I'd really like to see and what I'd encourage us here now and various others is to build a strong coalition of civil society and of the public and the unions and all of us, whether it's health organisations, as I say, unions, environmental organisations, whoever, to come together and all speak the same message with the same voice to the same people, rather than you going and meeting someone and me going and meeting someone and you going and meeting someone and you signing a petition. We need to build a big, strong, vocal, powerful civil society coalition to tell these people what we want.
And there are some of us here, we have Unison, we have GMB, naming people, there are people here in the room, we have huge amounts of...
No, there are some within the environment, so you know there are various other coalitions, but we really all need to come together with the same message and to make it a very simple message and hold these people to account.
What would be, over the next 12 months, key calendar moments in terms of...
Well, there are a number. There's the environment plan, 25-year environment plan, which affects all of us, which should be sometime before December. We've got various other things coming up along the way. I mean, for me personally, there's the agriculture bill. There may be other things on health. There's the repeal bill itself, and when that's debated, the amendments are debated. So there are several. I would have to go back to give you some more firmer dates and time, but there are key points along the road that you know we need to be active at.
Countdown.
What they've done, what have they not done, what's still left to do, and what's coming up next. So we could, you know, it's from June 19th, 2019?
March, I think.
March, yes.
Okay.
That's actually quite good.
So if we did, I don't know what date is, do a countdown to that, we could talk about these are the things that are outstanding, although they say, you know, they don't have time to look at the individual legislation. In 15 months' time, this is the reality, this is what it would look like. What are you going to do about it?
Helen,
I mean, this is one of the reasons that we set up the Alliance for Cancer Prevention, because I was working in the environmental movement. I was working with Hilda, who was working with, in the occupational movement. I was also working with women's organisations, and I really saw a need to bring everybody together to actually, you know, address the kind of cross-cutting issues. It's been quite difficult. Maybe because the message was around cancer prevention, or maybe because it was me just trying to facilitate. But I'd really like to see everyone coming together.
I think if we could base it around the precautionary principle and the polluter pays and no deregulation, just those things, then with your individual causes you can then elaborate on them. But just, I mean, just as a thought, but just as those three things, so it's really simple.
Not to keep.
That's part of the detail.
Right, okay.
But you know, if we need to keep these three things as basic rights for us. The precautionary principle must be enshrined, the polluter pays principle, and whatever, and no deregulation. They would be the three headline messages. And then, you know, people could elaborate on what that means for them, but they, you know, must be what we end up with.
I think yes, that's exactly what the Alliance for Cancer Prevention was set up for, and Helen has been working on this.
I'm not saying they're
Working on this very assiduously, but I think what we need is sort of bits of money coming in from some organisations to actually give a little bit of a platform, because you know we do have sort of an organisation that we use. We have some simple messages. We can get people to sign up. We can work out what the timetables are, some key points at which we can do things. We can draw in other things, but I think we do need to accept that in order to do this, because it's, you know, it is usually the radicals, the people who think about this, who, you know, often end up doing this completely and utterly unfunded for years and years. So, you know, small amounts of money can go a long way, and I think we can just draw together a bit of a coalition, not have with things very clear sort of aims, without, you know, not committing ourselves to building any citadel or anything.
No.
You know, but just really, You're absolutely right, and I think that's what this meeting's all been about, and I think it's been incredibly positive, and you are all very much to be
And
congratulated.
to place breast cancer in all of this, I think the representative from breast cancer now has left, but to be able to take it out of what is to some degree a bit of a ghetto, you know, it's there, and the whole, in a sense, the strange thing about Brexit is the opportunity that it does afford to raise this whole spectre of chemicals in the workplace, at home, in the wider environment, and how it makes us ill.
Yes.
We have this from pre-birth, from the womb to the grave. It is this lifelong, low-level exposure to this chemicals cocktail that nobody's taking account of, and absolutely no way do the breast cancer charities take account of it. So to be able to fold the breast cancer, the pink, the October moments into this wider story is it is a strange kind of an opportunity. So we will go away and think about all of this.
Yeah.
Make sure you will sign the sign-up petition, email sheet. We do have a petition, which is a change.org petition that is just an open running petition where we're calling on the breast cancer charities to acknowledge and then act upon the evidence from these worldwide respected bodies in relation to the risk factors for breast cancer. It's as Helen said, this is 20 years, 25 years, 30 years banging on this drum. So we do have a petition, go and sign it, it's at change.org and it's on our website, From Pink to Prevention, it's very clearly there. So we've got 2 or 3 more minutes. Any burning?
I just want to say, I'm not proposing to go and coordinate this, but I will work. I will kind of
talk to.
talk. Yeah. No. But that's why I thought it was really important to have a representative of the women's organisations here today, and it's a pity. And we will send Zarin our well wishes and hope she heals very quickly. But I think it's important that the women's organisations, as well as the trade unions and civil society, you know, come together on this, so we could maybe get sign-ups from a lot of different people. So
Can I just say, which Facebook group are you using to report on this? The From Pink to Prevention?
Yes, we would report back on. Yeah, and
the Alliance. So I mean, just to keep up with this at the moment, on Facebook.
And actually, Tipping Point, our organisation, so everything.
So we've got your email.
Yes.
But it's easier if you come to us. So on Facebook, information about this and where we can go with this and try and include you involved will be on From Pink to Prevention Facebook page.
What is it called?
From Pink to Prevention. The Alliance for Cancer Prevention. And the Tipping
Point. We just share everything that goes out. Tipping Point.
And we all share stuff amongst us, and we're all on the same. And Unison and GMB, we're all there. Okay.
Yeah. So there we are.
Perfect.
It's 1 o'clock. Thank you, everybody. I think it's been a great meeting, and it's always good to hear people say that they're learning, because we forget how immersed we are all in it and how unfamiliar the vast majority of people out there are on this issue, and yet it touches everybody's lives. So we'll keep in touch with you. We will come back with a bit of a plan. But thank you, Nick, Helen, Hilda. Thank you, helpers on the door. And thank you for your time. Thank you.
I'm standing up because I want to thank you, Deborah, and you, Helen, and all those women who have stuck with this for so long, because we owe you the most amazing debt. Thank you very much.